Very happy to be here this evening and share my story with you. I apologize for my voice. I'm coming down with something, and I usually don't have such a deep voice, but hopefully it'll hold up. In the fall of 2003, my husband and I decided to do something we had never expected to do in our married life, having a family. It wasn't even on our radar screen, and that was homeschooling our oldest son of then 4 children. Now we have 5. And the story is one of a child suffering through a learning disability and my own personal conversion and learning my Catholic faith. There's an expression about how we have our own plans, but God has another plan for us. And this is very much that kind of a story. I'd like to give you a little background on my own upbringing and my formation. I too grew up in Park Ridge. In fact, I took piano lessons from a piano teacher over on Ridge Terrace who lived in a house. Mr. Cobo, yes.
Our kids did too.
Yeah, back in the early 70s. So my family moved to Park Ridge in 1970, and my parents sent us to public school. I was 6 and a half when we moved here. And so from 1970 to 75, my younger brother and I, we went to Roosevelt. And in terms of our Catholic education, it was, it was the 70s. It was kind of on and off. CCD it just didn't seem to be very consistent. It was in somebody's basement. It was, it just was not, structured. So I was at Roosevelt until 6th grade. After 6th grade, my parents decided they wanted to send my brother and I, my younger brother, who's 2 years younger than me, here to St. Paul of the Cross. And so the foundation, I think, had been laid in the younger grades, and by the time I got here, it seemed like everything had been taught, and it was time to move on to confirmation. And I remember listening to Jesus Christ Superstar in 8th grade, theology class and religion class. Then I went off to high school, and high school was a Catholic girls' high school in Chicago, and it was a good school, but it seemed like the feminist movement had affected the community of sisters there, and really there was like one nun there in a habit, and the focus seemed to be on going to college, having a career, and that kind of thing. Then I went off to college, and college was, again, a women's college in Chicago, and it seemed like the feminism had kind of drowned out the Catholicism. There weren't many nuns there. I don't remember seeing any nuns there in habits. And, what was I going to say? Oh, and we were not required to take a religion class at all at this Catholic women's college. So what ended up happening was I decided in the middle of things that I wanted to go into nursing. And the college that I was at had a relationship with Northwestern University. If you maintained a certain GPA and you took your prerequisite classes at this college, everything would transfer over to Northwestern. And they would accept you into their nursing program. So that's what I did. And after 2 grueling years, I walked out of there with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and worked at Rush Presbyterian St. Luke's Medical Center for 12 years. I worked in hematology oncology, and for the first 6 years I was there, and then the last 6 years I was there, I worked in AIDS research. And I ended up being certified, it was an ACRN, AIDS Certified Registered Nurse. In the meantime, I was dating Ed Samano, who's now my husband, and we decided to get married, and we were planning our wedding, and my mother was in the choir here at St. Paul of the Cross. She had been in the choir for years, and of course she was helping us arrange the music for the wedding ceremony. And one day we were talking about, the music for the wedding, and she said, now, I think we're going to have the choir sing this certain version of the Ave Maria for when you go to pray in front of the statue of Mary after Holy Communion. And I said, and I was a career woman, kind of bought into the feminist line of thinking, and I said, I'm not going to pray in front of the statue of Mary. Oh, come on, I'm not doing that. And she said, what? You are doing it. She was mortified, understandably so, mortified. She said, oh, you are. Any daughter of mine who's getting married in this church is going to be praying, and asking for Mary's prayers on her wedding day. And so I did do that. So my husband and I, we got married and went on to have a family, and fast forward, we now have, at this point, we are expecting our third child, and my oldest son is about 3.5, and he's in preschool, and we can see he can't pay attention, he can't stay on task, he cannot sit still, very distractible, cannot follow directions. And as the years go by while he's in school, we can see that this is not getting better. He's just all over the place. And we consult with professionals, and at this point, he's in special ed in District 64, special ed pre-kindergarten, special ed kindergarten, special ed first grade. And he's just not making any progress, and we cannot really figure out what's going on with him. We tried medication, thinking, it was ADHD, that was a disaster. And we consulted with professionals, and by the middle of first grade, we had determined that we did not think that the public schools were the place for him anymore. And we were advised to seek a school for children with learning disabilities. So I did look into homeschooling. He was in the middle of first grade, while we were also seeking, the school for children with learning disabilities. And this summer, after first grade, we met with the director of a school on the North Shore that is for children with learning disabilities, gave her the records, met with her, explained, his history, and really thought, this is what we were advised to do, and this is a textbook case. He's, he'll probably be accepted. And we got a call a week later from the director, and she said, I'm sorry, Mrs. Samano, but we just don't think that this is the right placement for Edward. And my husband and I were stunned. How can this be? This seems like the this seems just like the perfect place for him. He seems like the right kind of a student with those kinds of needs. Why is this happening? So, but there's a reason for things. And, God, why does God allow suffering to happen? God allows suffering so that a greater good may come of it. So what we ended up doing was we ended up doing our backup plan, and that was homeschooling. So that summer, I met with a wonderful group of moms who homeschool, Our Lady Queen of Peace homeschool group, and we're part of that group today. And they gave me guidance about choosing curriculum. How do you homeschool? I had no idea. I thought women who homeschooled were like, unbelievable. I couldn't even imagine that I'd be doing it myself. But they gave me guidance on curriculum, and also the professionals that we had met with about Edward's learning disability also advised certain things. And I put something together. The religion part of our curriculum was the Baltimore Catechism. And when I began to teach my son his religion, I learned my faith. Because when I was growing up, something happened, and it wasn't there. So I began to learn my faith. I was learning a language that I did not speak for years. I was 40 years old when I started homeschooling my son. And that's when I learned my faith. And I praise God for this situation because it has just really changed our lives. So what did I learn and what have we learned as a family? The basic truths of the Catholic faith. Prayers, devotions, stories of saints and apparitions. And let me just tell you a little story quickly about what happened on my wedding day. Remember how I didn't want to pray in front of the statue of Mary? I don't know if any of you are familiar with Mary's apparitions, church-approved apparitions at Fatima, Portugal. My wedding anniversary, it turns out, is October 13th, and that is the same date as the Miracle of the Sun in Fatima, Portugal. And I just, what a gift. What a gift. That I really rejected Mary, and that I received this gift to share this wedding day with the apparitions of Fatima, the Miracle of the Sun. Well, that was just amazing. So how does my faith affect my Catholic homeschooling? I mean, it's just so intertwined, I can't even explain. The curriculum that we use is Catholic. It is, the subjects are all infused with the faith, with doctrine, terminology, stories about saints. In terms of how do we homeschool, we begin our day with a morning offering. O Jesus, through the Immaculate Heart of Mary, I offer thee my prayers, works, joys, and sufferings of this day, and so on. We say your basic Catholic prayers, the Our Father, the Hail Mary, the Glory Be, which I learned at St. Paul of the Cross in 7th grade. And we usually pray to our guardian angels, too. Today, one of the great things about homeschooling my kids in terms of teaching them their faith is just seeing them learn it and ask questions. Ask questions that sometimes I can't even answer. You know how your kids ask you questions and you just can't answer that question? But today my son, my 9-year-old, had to finish his quarterly test for his religion, and this boy had to know all 10 of the 10 commandments and be able to explain what they mean. And I was so happy for him, and he was just ecstatic that he had completed his test. What advice do I offer families who are raising young kids in the faith, whether they are homeschooling, whether they are just sending them to Catholic school, raising their children? And I would say, first and foremost, present your children to the sacraments as often as possible. At the minimum, Sunday Mass, I mean, that's obligatory. Weekday Mass, if possible. Confession once a month is recommended, and God knows that we parents need to go to confession on a regular basis. My children are young. My oldest is 15 now, and my youngest is 7. So we need the graces through that sacrament of reconciliation. And our children need it too, because, boy, they're not perfect, they're kids. Also, Eucharistic adoration. I have a regular holy hour every week in our adoration chapel, which is such a blessing to have in our parish, perpetual Eucharistic adoration. And my children also, my children and I participate in our children's Eucharistic adoration program that Bob and Christine Maska are so wonderful to organize. Every month, it is a blessing. And in addition to that, our homeschool group also has a holy hour once a month that is presided over by a wonderful priest with the Marian Movement for Priests. And it's rosary, a homily, benediction. It's wonderful. And then finally, family rosary. We do not pray the rosary every night as a family. I mean, I don't mean to come off like we do. It's hard to do. But every once in a while, it's wonderful to pray the rosary as a family, especially when you hear the children ask, can I lead this decade? Can I lead that decade? It's really wonderful. So that is our story, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or hear any comments. Or did I leave any gaping holes in my talk? I'd love to know. Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
And Suzanne. Lynn, go first, because that's my middle name, so I'm going to pick you first.
First of all, I thought your talk was terrific.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
When you were teaching your children, when did the spark of the church come to you? Because it probably wasn't at the beginning you were.
Yeah, yeah.
When did the spark?
Gosh, I would say it was early on. Now, my oldest was 7. He was in second grade. He had turned 7 in July, so it was the fall that he had turned 7. And it was just it seemed like it was just right away. You know, teaching him and learning, reading the Baltimore Catechism, learning the faith, it just right away, it did, I have to say. It didn't take long. Suzanne?
Would you say you homeschool all of your children?
Now my oldest is at Maine South. He's 15 now. He's the one who I started to homeschool. We homeschooled him through 6th grade, and then he went to Lincoln. And now he's at Maine South. My younger ones were here at St. Paul of the Cross, and after my daughter, who's my second oldest, and the rest are boys, after my daughter finished 4th grade, we decided that we wanted to homeschool them. So this is our 3rd year with the rest of the kids. So I've got a 13-year-old daughter, 11-year-old son, 9-year-old son, and 7-year-old son that I'm homeschooling. Yes, Lynn?
Was your husband at the same level as you as far as your religion?
No, my husband is 5 years older than me, so he got a little more of a traditional, education than I did. You know, he still remembers, he went to school in the city, Our Lady of Lourdes. He still remembers the BVMs, and they had apparently kind of these exotic habits. And so he was a little more knowledgeable than I was. I always felt like he spoke the language and I didn't. But now we both speak the language.
Do you think the gap is closing now on as far as religious education is concerned for the younger children coming up?
It's hard to say. I look at our own religious education program here at St. Paul of the Cross, the CCD program, and my kids are in the CCD program here because they're not enrolled in the school. And it seems like it's very involved and very active, a very active young faith community here. So I do think it is. I think people are waking up. I think my generation is waking up.
When you reflect on the irony of helping your son and you were helped, how does it make you feel?
Oh, it's humbling. I mean, I don't mean to sound patronizing when I say it's humbling. What a gift. And, there was another date. I kind of like dates. It's just this thing. I'm just like my mother. We both had this thing about dates. My husband and I got engaged, and I think I told you this. My husband and I got engaged on June 25th, which is about the date of the Marian apparitions in Medjugorje. So again, me kind of rejecting Mary, and then to kind of share these dates was a gift. Yeah. So, well, if that's it, thank you very, very much for listening to my story. Thank you so much.